What is going on YouTube? It is Primitive here, and today I'm going to be bringing you the finals of the most recent RMC event. This is going to be between myself on the right, playing Blue Hybrid on the left. We are going to be playing against Blue Hybrid, something that is going to be very familiar in this metagame, especially leading up into the Ultimate Cups. And so getting on into it, I'm going to start off with the Madoki, and then I do have to put my opponent at 4 with the Davis. I don't really have much better of a play here, so that gives my opponent a lot of opportunity to play out multiple cards here. They're going to play out the Bokomon. It's going to allow them to hit the Davis, and they're going to grab the Kumamon. So now if they want to, they can just play out the Davis, put me to the 3 that I'll be at anyway, while also setting up their own Davis so they don't get memory choked. That is what they're going to decide to do here, and they decide to grab the Madoki over the Beowulf here, showing that they are prioritizing getting that Madoki out. They might also have a Beowulf in hand already and might not want a second one, but having the Beowulf in hand is a little bit scary, but also having the Madoki is going to be scary because it's going to shut down my Hammer Spark, it's going to shut down my Memory Boost, going to shut down Bokomon, stuff like that. Something that my opponent is experiencing right now is I have the Madoki on the field, but they are going to go into the Kumamon here. They will strip the bottom source of my Madoki here, and without having Sorajo or Starter Deck Mat out though, it's not that big of a deal, and they are going to swing in to hit Tommy, so I can strip the sources right there and make it so that way they're not going to be able to get any more Upamon draws, and set it up so where if I do get my own Sorajo or my Starter Deck Mat, we'll be able to gain a decent amount of memory. But my opponent's going to go ahead and play out Mimi here, once again making it a bit harder for me to be able to play out things like Hammer Sparks, especially with the Madoki that we know that's in their hand. So I'm going to go ahead and stun the Bokomon here. I'm going to swing over the Kumamon, and I'm not going to bounce back yet. I want to leave the source there just in case my opponent plays out something like the Madoki in their hand, and then I can bounce it back. So instead I'm just going to go ahead and swing over, leave the source, and then end the turn by playing out my own Mimi, passing my opponent back to the 3 with their Davis. Now, unfortunately for me, they are going to have the Howling, which means that they can strip the sources from my Beowulf and stun it, so I'm not actually going to be able to get that bounce back and bring back that Kumamon since I didn't bounce it back with that last swing, but I did want to try and play around it there. So my opponent's going to play it, tap the Mimi to gain a memory. I'm going to tap my own Mimi to make it so they go back to 0. So that way if they want to play something like a 4-cost Tamer, that they're going to have to put me at 4 instead of the 3, but instead they're just going to go and play out another Bokomon and grab a second Mimi. 2 Hammer Sparks went to the bottom right there, so a lot less memory gain that they're going to be able to get. That's being blocked by the Madoki, but still blocking the Bokomon gain here, which is going to be very big because right now they would not only be able to Digivolve into a hybrid for essentially free, but they would gain 2 memory on top of it. So gotta play around that. But now with the Tommy source and the Beowulf, I'm gonna be able to swing, bounce back one Bokomon and stun the other one while still having Madoki on the field, so making these Bokomons essentially useless. If I was able to have something like Sorajo out on the board right now, I would have been getting a lot of value from it, but still shutting down the Bokomon is going to be fairly good just because I don't want them to be able to get out all those resources for free. I wouldn't mind if they Digivolved on top of their Davis just to get rid of their Memory Tamer, which looks like they're considering doing right now. So they are going to go up into the Kumamon. That's going to go ahead and strip the Tommy off my Beowulf. They'll get a draw off the Kiaramon as well, and they're going to go up into the Beowulf. So right now I have to see if they're wanting to trade or not. If they do trade here, that is going to set me back a little bit, but it's not going to be that big of a deal because as of right now I am essentially winning on the board. So them bouncing back the Madoki means that I'll still be able to play it next turn. I'll be able to have a rookie to put in Raising, which I missed last turn, and I'll still have the ability to have a Beowulf to swing in next turn and be up 4-3 security. So having my opponent get rid of their Memory Tamer and their Beowulf just to get rid of my Beowulf that had no sources on it isn't that big of a deal. It's more so my opponent playing not to lose more so than me playing to win. My opponent isn't going to go ahead and tap the Mimi right there to make the Howling stay free, because I'll just tap my Mimi and I'd go back to 3 with Davis anyway, and my Mimi would be unsuspended. So it essentially is the exact same outcome, except my opponent's Mimi is no longer going to be suspended. So I'm going to go ahead and Aqua Viper here and tap my own Mimi, so that way it only costs 2 instead of 3, but then my opponent is going to play their Mimi. I actually was trying to bait the Mimi tap right here, because now with their Madoki gone and their Mimi tapped, I can go ahead and play out the 2 Hammer Sparks in my hand, which have been a little bit dead, so that way I can choke my opponent at 1 with the Madoki, making it so they can't play their own Hammer Sparks, and just disabling the Howling that's on the board right there. If they want to gain memory, they'll have to burn a Hammer Spark to tap Mimi and only gain the 1 memory from the Mimi, so we'll see if they want to go for that. But they are just going to go ahead and play Davis, putting 3 Tamers to the bottom, which is unfortunate, but that at least they're not going to get choked anymore at 1, which is something that if they didn't play out the Davis, I would continue to just keep choking them at 1, especially with the Madoki on the board. It is going to shut down most of their options. So I'm going to go ahead and go into the Korikaku, into the Beowulf here, just trying to get some swings in and get the aggression in. Bounce back the Korikaku into my hand for later. Unfortunately, my Beowulf did go down to the Beowulf in the opposing security, which means that I'm not going to have that extra aggression to threaten next turn. But as of right now, I'm going to be having 3 swings to my opponent's 2 security, and they're going to actually play the Supreme Cannon, so showing that they're playing the Supreme Cannon, and that's going to put me super far behind, bouncing back 3 rookies, allowing them to be able to play out the Howling and play out a second Mimi. So very strong turn from my opponent right here. That's something that they definitely needed to get back into the game, because they definitely were starting to fall a little bit far behind. But now the Pokemon going to come out, going to be able to grab a Korikaku, so that'll be nice, being able to potentially stun later. We haven't seen a Tommy come out from them just yet, so I'm going to go ahead and just play a Madoki in the back and a Madoki out while also playing out a Strabi. It gets a couple Digimon on the board, makes it so that my opponent's 2 securities are threatened by the 3 Digimon that I'll have on the board. Plus, I want to continue to have Madoki out on the board to shut down memory gain. They're not going to have the Bokomon memory gain right here, which they were trying to go for, but they're going to have another Beowulf, so they can go in with the Beowulf, being able to swing and bounce back the Madoki, but then their Beowulf is going to swing into my Beowulf, so a little bit of Beowulf payback for the one that I had go down in their security. So now they don't have their Beowulf, which is perfect for me because I want them to have as little aggression as possible. They did Supreme Cannon back most of my rookies, which was kind of my main aggression force, and now those are gone, so gonna have to try and play around that. Gonna have to play a little bit slower since that bounce back. So with my opponent's Beowulf going down there, I don't have as much to worry about. I see them counting right here, which shows me that they want to go into the Susanomon here, so we're gonna see 5, 6, 7, 8 right there, and then gonna put some into the hand. They can put those Davis from the trash in there as well, but it decides that they just wanted to go with the cards that are in the hand instead of the trash. Very interesting, but they are going to be able to go in for the Susano for 7 and then be able to gain the 2 from the Bokomon since the Madoki is gone, and pop my Strabimon here. So now there's a Susano on the board. Obviously, I'm going to have to try and play around stunning this. If I let this be free, then they're going to be able just to clear all my checks, and I'll be very far behind. So going to go with the Madoki here. Gonna be able to grab the Tommy and the Strabi there, so I'll be able to set up a bit, but we're gonna go with the Kumamon. It's gonna let me Digivolve for free. I'll be able to strip the Susano, go into Korikaku to stun the Susano. Can't be allowing it to get those 3 checks next turn, so I have to just play around it right now. And then I am thinking about going into the Beowulf, but they have the Siako, so I'm not gonna be able to play it for 1, and I don't want to pass turn just yet, so thinking about what else I could go for here. And after a bit of thought here, I decide that I'm going to go up into another Korikaku on top for 1, be able to stun the Bokomon here. If my opponent's going to swing, I'd rather them swing in with the Madoki and the Siakomon, because that gives them a chance of going down in the security. So I'm going to go and swing the Tommy. They are going to strip the sources, which is terrible because I really don't want them to be able to have another hybrid to go on top and potentially start to swing in for game. So I am just going to go ahead and Ice Wall here. I still have the Madoki on the board to be able to shut down memory gain. So if my opponent wants to go into a hybrid this turn, they're going to have to play a Hammer Spark, which will get negated by the Madoki, but they can still tap the Mimi to go to 2 and then Digivolve on top of the Tommy for 2, and then if they want to swing and stun with the Tommy, then they will pass with the Ice Wall. So basically limiting my opponent's options this turn with the Ice Wall and the Madoki, but we'll have to see what they want to go for here, just because I am threatening to be able to go for game next turn. I do have the Korikaku, the Boko, and the Madoki being able to swing in 3 checks to my opponent's 2, so they're going to go ahead and play the Ice Wall here. They tap the Mimi so that they stay at 1, and then they can Digivolve into the Korikaku for 2 to put me at 1, but since they did tap their Mimi and mine's going to be unsuspended, it is going to give me the option to actually be able to go for game here, because I am going to be able to Hammer Spark and gain a memory through the Madoki because it can't negate the Mimi gain, and so then I'll pay the 2 memory with the Ice Wall and be able to go in and swing in for game. And so having them have their Mimi suspended and mine unsuspended allowed me to gain that 1 memory that I needed right there to be able to be at the 2, so I could swing in with the Ice Wall. So a little play around from the Madoki. You got to make it so that way obviously they can stop non-tamer gains, but they can't stop tamer gains, so sometimes you just have to burn the Hammer Spark to be able to get that Mimi gain in front of the memory blockers, and right there was a perfect opportunity to do so, and it was able to snag us up the win. So starting off, I am going to start off with the Davis and the mat. My opponent's going to have the Sorajo in the mat with the Howling on board as well, and so right now they are threatening to be able to gain the memory from the Sorajo. So I'm going to go ahead and Digivolve into the Kumamon. That's going to make it so my opponent is now being threatened with a bunch of memory gain because I have Sorojo and Matt on the board, which is an essential 3 memory gain if they have a Digimon with no sources on the board. And I just stripped the Syakomon right now. Obviously it's not going to be stunned, so if they want to go ahead and swing on top of it, that they can, and if it does go down in security, that'll be great for them. And they can also just go ahead and Digivolve up on top of it, but they are going to go ahead and just go up into Kumamon, into Beowulf, swing and bounce it back, and they'll survive the swing, and then they're going to start to swing in with the Syako, and it does unfortunately go down. That was something that I would prefer to stay alive, so that way I can get the extra 3 memory gain from the Sorojo and the Matt on top of the Davis. Starting my turn at 6 would allow me so many different options, and especially because I need to be able to deal with this Beowulf right now. It is something that's going to be fairly annoying because it's a 7k beater. There's not much in my deck that can get over a 7k besides my own 7ks, as well as something like my Azulongs, and so I got to go ahead and just stun him out here. Able to play around the Sorojo by having the egg under the Madoki. Gonna play out the Tommy, go to 0, play the Korikaku to Digivolve on top. It puts my opponent at only 2 while stunning the Beowulf and still having the Howling Memory Boost shut down. Now they can go ahead and swing in with the Kumamon, or now what is the Korikakumon, and strip with the Sorojo, so that way they can at least get rid of some of the sources on one of my Digimon and threaten to be able to gain memory from the Sorojo next turn. But since they swung on the Korikakumon, that gives me multiple ways I could Digivolve on top of it. I could put another Korikaku on top of it. I could go for the Beowulf on top of it for 3 if that's what I need to do, but they are actually going to go ahead and go in with another Korikakumon, and now since my Digimon is stripped of sources, it is going to stun me. So now I'm not going to be able to attack with that, which is unfortunate because I'm going to need to try to find a way to get around this. I don't want my opponent gaining the Sorojo memory, despite the fact that I just went to 6 with my own Sorojo Matt. I don't want my opponent gaining that same advantage. Being able to capitalize on this memory advantage is going to be a big way for me to go in for game. So right now I'm just thinking about what is going to be the best play for me here. I am going to start off with Tommy here. It's going to allow me to strip the bottom 3 sources from the Korikaku there and draw off the Kiaramon, which luckily hits me the Syakomon, so I can have a Digimon in raising to promote next turn. That is also a floodgate, so it is nice, but I got to go ahead and continue with my turn, so I'm going to go ahead with the Kumamon here. That's going to strip the last source from the Korikakumon, and then I'm going to have another Korikakumon. I'm going to put it on top of the stunned one, so that way I don't play into my opponent's Sorojo memory. I'm going to play Hammer Spark into my opponent's Mimi, but that allows me to play a second Hammer Spark to go up to 1, go up into the Beowulf. I'll be able to swing and return my Korikaku to return the Kumamon to return my opponent's Korikaku. So now the Beowulf is stunned. I have a nice board on there, putting my opponent at only 2. They're not going to be able to gain Sorojo memory. At the moment, they can't gain the Howling Memory Boost memory, and now I'm going to be having 3 Digimon on the board, a 4th one coming up with multiple Tamers in the back and memory gain, so I am threatening to just potentially go in for next turn, going for game next turn. My opponent does have some potential play around with that Mimi, but if they leave it suspended going into my turn, I'll be able to freely play the options, so we'll have to see what they want to go for here. They are in a little bit of a tough spot. They are going to go ahead and play the Madoki, so that way they can tap the Mimi to go up to 3. They're not going to be able to gain the extra memory because of the Madoki here, but I'm wondering what this is going to mean for them to be able to gain memory. They can go into the Kumamon, choose which source they would like to strip. They have 3 options. They are going to go with the Korikaku strip. I don't think which card they chose to strip right there is going to really matter too much, because no matter what, they'll be able to potentially stun something. But going up into the Beowulf now, going to be at 0, so now they can again trade into the Beowulf like they did the first game if they need to really get that aggression. And so they are going to, once again, trading Beowulf into Beowulf to bounce back the Madoki. So now they do have the Howling Memory Boost live. They can pop it up to 2 if they need to gain a little bit of extra resources, but I do think my opponent makes a little bit of a mistake right here, and by a little bit, I mean they definitely make a bit of a mistake here by popping the Howling Memory Boost, and then I think they just had a different play that they don't have here because they don't have a blue Tamer, so they actually just end up playing the Tommy, and I'm going to go to 5 anyway because of the Davis and the Sorojo, so definitely just wasted the Howling right there. Not sure what their game plan was. I think they were just trying to play around the Madoki. I think they were trying to go into another hybrid, but they were just misplayed. Didn't have the blue Tamer in there. They had the Mimi, so won't really matter too much because I'm definitely going to be playing out a Madoki. Once again, that was just bounced to limit my opponent's options. I want them to have as little options as possible, and having the Madoki out is going to do exactly that. So I'm going to go up into the Kumamon. Nothing to strip, but I get to stun with the Tommy. We'll go down to the Beowulf, but no big deal because with their Beowulf being stunned, there's not much they're going to really be able to do there. They never stunned the Korikakumon, so I am going to be able to go ahead and swing in with the Korikakumon right there. Put my opponent at 1 security as well as 1 memory with the Ice Wall and the Madoki out, so nothing that's that they're really going to be able to do to be able to bounce up here. They can Digivolve up into the Korikaku, so that way they stun my Madoki, and that will prevent them from losing the game this turn, just because I can't swing in with the Madoki and then go in for the hybrid, and I don't have the double hybrid to go in for game just at the moment, so I'm going to have to just go in with the Aqua Viper here, bounce back the Korikaku and the Strabi, getting rid of their sources as well as a crucial Tommy, and that's going to make it so my opponent only has a maximum of 1 swing next turn. They are going to tap the Mimi, so that way I go down to 1 memory on the Aqua Viper, so I can play a Hammer Spark, go to 2, play the Madoki to put my opponent at 1. Now there's nothing that they can really do here. They can swing in. I didn't stun anything last turn, but even if they swing in here, what are they going to be able to do? Even if they bounce back my Madoki here, I'm going to be able to promote swing in. I can't hit Hammer Spark or Ice Wall to be able to lose any memory there, because Madoki will just negate it, and then I can go in with the Kendo for game and be able to take the finals 2-0. So the mirror match can definitely be a tough one to navigate, considering all the stunning and playing around Sorajos, especially with the new dynamic of the purple Mimis in there, but was able to take it, fortunately, 2-0, so feeling good about the event leading into the Ulti Cups. But with that being said, if you enjoyed, be sure to like and subscribe, because I'll be bringing you even more BT7 content. I'll catch you all next time. Peace out.